You do not need a brand new air conditioner to make a stuffy room feel easier to live in. Sometimes all you need is a $3 cotton towel, a little cold water, and an old principle people used before air conditioning became normal. It sounds almost too simple, but this is the interesting part. Many American families now run the AC all day during summer. Some households add $80, $120, or even $200 to the monthly electric bill during the hottest months. Meanwhile, there is an old cooling trick that almost nobody talks about anymore, even though it still makes practical sense. It will not turn your bedroom into a refrigerator. It will not replace air conditioning during a dangerous heat wave. But in an upstairs apartment, a west-facing bedroom, a rental without central air, a small cabin, or an RV, it can help. It can also help when you simply want to calm a room down at night without running the air conditioner nonstop. Most people used to understand this idea. They hung damp cloth in front of moving air and opened windows at the right time. They created shade before the room heated up, and they understood that cooling did not always begin with a machine. Cooling begins with understanding air water, sunlight, and airflow. That is what this old $3 room cooling trick is really about. Today, I will show you how to do it correctly, why it works, where it helps most, and where it is almost useless. I will also show you the small mistakes that can make a room humid, stale, or even unsafe if the trick is done carelessly. Old knowledge did not disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because modern life made us stop looking at how things work. Picture a July afternoon in America. Outside, the parking lot feels like a griddle, and the sidewalk seems to radiate heat upward. You come home after work, open the bedroom door, and immediately feel the air sitting still in the room. The bed feels warm. The wall feels warm. The curtains feel warm. Even the ceiling fan is only pushing hot air in circles. You look at the old window air conditioner, but you also remember the electric bill from last month. If you live in an older house, a rental apartment, or a spare room without its own cooling system, you know this feeling. The room does not need to feel like a hotel lobby. It only needs to become less suffocating so you can breathe, rest, and sleep. This is where the old trick begins. You need a thin cotton towel or a cheap piece of cotton cloth. The best option is light-colored cotton that absorbs water well and costs only a few dollars at Walmart, Dollar Tree, a thrift store, or your own closet. Do not use a thick, heavy bath towel because it holds too much water and dries too slowly. Do not use slick synthetic fabric because it will not absorb water evenly across the surface. You want cotton because cotton holds a thin layer of water on the fibers and lets that water evaporate slowly as air passes through it. Here is the old principle. When water evaporates, it pulls heat from the area around it. That is why your skin feels cooler when sweat dries. That is why a yard feels calmer after water has been sprayed on dry ground. That is also why older dry climate homes use damp cloth clay jars, deep shade, cross breeze, windows, and covered porches before compressor cooling became common. Modern people often think cooling means creating cold air, but sometimes cooling means removing heat, blocking heat, and helping the body release heat more easily. A $3 damp cotton towel is not magic. It is a very simple version of evaporative cooling. When you combine it with the right airflow, the right timing, and the right setup, a small room can feel much more comfortable than it does with a dry fan alone. Here's how to do it. First, choose the right time of day. This trick works best in the late afternoon, evening, or early morning when outdoor temperatures start dropping or airflow can move through the room. If it is noon, the sun is hitting the window directly and the room feels like an oven. Do not expect one damp towel to beat the sun. The first job on a hot day is to block heat before it enters the room. Pull light-colored curtains, blackout curtains, or sun-blocking shades over west-facing and south-facing windows during the day. If possible, add a reflective board, a blackout panel, or even a light-colored cloth inside the window to reduce direct sunlight. The old rule is simple. Do not wait until the room is hot and then try to rescue it. Keeping heat outside is much cheaper than dragging heat back out after it is soaked into the walls, bed curtains, and carpet. When the sun weakens, open a window on the cooler side of the home if you have one. If possible, open another door or window so the air has an exit path. Air needs both an entrance and an exit. If you open one window in a sealed room, you are asking the breeze to do all the work by itself. But when you give air a path, it moves with more purpose and the room starts releasing trapped heat. Now soak the cotton towel in cold water. Ice is not required though. Cool tap water or chilled water can make the first few minutes feel better. Wring the towel out very well. This is one of the most important details in the whole method. The towel should be evenly damp and cool, but it should not drip onto the floor windowsill. Electrical cords, outlets, or carpet. If water is dripping everywhere, you are not cooling smarter. You are creating a new moisture problem. A good old trick should never become a soggy mess that damages wood, feeds mildew, or makes the room smell musty. After wringing it out, hang the towel in front of moving air, not on the fan motor and not over the fan blades. Do not cover a fan with fabric. Do not let wet cloth touch outlets, extension cords, or anything electrical. If a window has a gentle breeze clip, the towel near the top of the window so air passes across the damp surface and into the room. If there is no natural breeze, place a fan at a safe distance so it blows across the towel or pulls air through that area. Think of it as creating a cool membrane, not a wet curtain that blocks the whole opening. Air must be able to pass. Water must be able to evaporate. If the towel is too wet or folded too thick, the room may only become humid. If the towel is thin, evenly damp, and placed in light airflow, the air nearby can feel noticeably softer and cooler. To test it honestly, place a small thermometer a few feet from the setup and write down the room temperature before you start. After 20 to 30 minutes, check the thermometer again and pay attention to how the air feels near the airflow path. In dry climates like Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, Colorado, or on low humidity days, the difference can be much more noticeable. In humid places like Florida, Louisiana, or Houston in summer, or in a damp basement, the effect will be much weaker. This is the part many online videos do not explain honestly. Evaporative cooling needs air that can accept more moisture. If the air is already heavy with humidity, water does not evaporate quickly, and the room may feel sticky instead of cooler. Before using this method, look at humidity. If indoor humidity is above 60 to 65%, be careful. If the room smells musty, has damp walls, sweating windows, or is already very humid, this is probably not the right method. In that situation, the better old method is ventilation, reducing moisture sources, using an exhaust fan, or using a dehumidifier when necessary. Old ways that work does not mean every old trick works everywhere. A good old trick is valuable because it knows its limits. The bedroom version is simple. About 30 minutes before sleep, open the window, only if the outside air is cooler than the room. Hang the damp cotton towel near the window or airflow path and place a small fan safely so air moves through the room. Open the bedroom door slightly so air has somewhere to go instead of circling inside the same hot space. Place a tray or dry towel underneath if you are worried about dripping water. After 30 to 45 minutes, if the towel begins to dry, you can dampen it again one more time. But do not leave a wet towel pressed against a wall, wood trim, or heavy curtains all night. Before going to sleep, check the floor windowsill cords and outlets. Everything should be dry, stable, and safely away from electricity. If the room is small, sealed, or has no real exit path for air, remove the towel after the room feels calmer. The rental apartment version needs to be even smarter because many renters cannot install a window AC or change the window frame. In that case, use a small folding drying rack near the cracked open window and hang the damp towel on the rack. Place a fan inside the room so it blows across the towel toward the bed, desk, or chair where you actually spend time. This requires no drilling, no tape on the wall, and no damage to the window frame. For an RV, small cabin, or evening garage workspace, the trick can help when the air is dry and there is safe ventilation. But in a garage with power tools, low outlets, extension cords, or a slippery floor, keep water far away from electricity. A money-saving trick is not worth the risk of electrical damage, slips, or a dangerous short circuit. There is another old variation worth remembering: cool the body before trying to cool the whole room. Older households did not always try to lower the temperature of an entire house when one person simply needed to sleep. They cooled contact points instead. A small, cool cotton towel wrung almost dry can be placed around the neck for a few minutes. It can also be used on the wrists or the back of the neck or placed near a fan to make the body feel cooler faster. This is not a replacement for medical care during dangerous heat. If someone shows signs of heat exhaustion, do not experiment with home tricks. Dizziness, nausea, a racing heart, confusion, very hot skin, or abnormal sweating are warning signs that require a cooler place and real help. But on ordinary hot nights when a room is simply stuffy and uncomfortable, the principle is worth using carefully. Now let us talk about common mistakes. The first mistake is using a towel that is too wet. Many people think more water means more cooling. That is wrong. Water only cools when it evaporates. If the towel is dripping, the water is falling on the floor instead of pulling heat out of the air. The second mistake is hanging the towel in a sealed room with no moving air. Still air slows evaporation and raises humidity. The third mistake is putting the towel directly on the fan. Do not do that. The fan needs safe airflow. The motor needs to stay dry and the blades must never catch fabric. The fourth mistake is using this method in a room that already has mold or musty moisture problems. If the room smells damp, solve the moisture source first instead of adding more water to the air. The fifth mistake is opening the window at the wrong time. If the outside air is hotter than the inside air, you may bring more heat in. A cheap thermometer can teach you more than guessing. Check the temperature in the room and outside the window. When outdoor air is cooler, ventilate. When outdoor air is hotter, block sunlight and keep hot air outside. This is old practical thinking. Do not fight the weather blindly. Work with its rhythm. If you want better results while keeping the cost low, combine 3 layers. Layer 1 is blocking sunlight during the day with curtains, bright cloth reflective panels, or shade outside the window. Layer 2 is releasing trapped heat when outdoor air becomes cooler using cross ventilation and a fan. Layer 3 is adding a damp cotton towel into the airflow so evaporation can make the moving air feel cooler. Each layer may seem small by itself, but together they can turn a hot room into a more livable space without running a sea nonstop. That is how older households thought about comfort, not one machine saving everything, but a small system of shade, airflow, water, material, and timing. The cost is almost nothing. A cheap cotton towel may cost around $3 and clothespins or large clips may already be in a drawer. If you already own a small fan, there is no major extra cost. Compared with running AC all night, this is a low-cost comfort tool, but be honest about safety. If there is a heat warning, elderly people, small children, pets, or illness in the home, do not treat this as enough. Air conditioning, a public cooling center, a library, a community center, or a relative's cooled home may be the safer choice. The best old tricks help you use energy smarter. They should never pressure you to endure unsafe heat. What I like about this trick is not that it is powerful. I like it because it changes the way you see a room. Instead of looking at a hot room and thinking only about buying a more expensive device, you begin asking better questions. Where is heat entering? Does air have a way out? When is outdoor air cooler than indoor air? Is the cloth evaporating or just adding humidity? Do I need to cool the whole room or do I only need to cool the sleeping area? These questions are worth more than another product. They give you control. That is what Old Ways That Work is always about. You do not need to buy your way out of every home problem. Sometimes you need to understand what earlier generations understood clearly. A $3 cotton towel, the right airflow, the right window timing. And respect for simple science can do more than most people expect. Not because it is magical, but because it is practical. The old way was not primitive. The old way was knowing how to use what you already had at the right time in the right way with clear limits. If this trick helps you calm a hot room, save a little electricity, or sleep better on a summer night, remember this. Old knowledge never really left. It may be sitting in an ordinary towel, a bowl of cold water, an open window, and one forgotten question. Before you buy something new, do you truly understand how the old thing works?